Alright, Becoming Led Zeppelin. This is a new documentary from Sony Pictures Classics that's now playing in IMAX screens. I believe it's going to start playing in just regular theaters and not just IMAX screens next week. I think I saw that on the poster or something like that. Don't quote me on that. Don't actually know that for certain. And I also have a suspicion that since this is a documentary, if this film doesn't do great, they're probably not going to want to move it to other theaters. This movie is not great. So here's the thing. I'm not a huge Led Zeppelin fan. I do like their music quite a bit. It's good music, right? But I'm not like... There's the bands I love, and then Led Zeppelin's like maybe about here. So it's close, but they're not like one of my favorites or something like that. So this documentary was already kind of having to do some stuff to get me engaged, which I don't think would have been hard. I'm a pretty easy guy when it comes to music documentaries. I love music history, even if I don't enjoy the subject so much. So this documentary, I was excited about. I got the IMAX tickets literally 2 months ago. So I was very excited for this movie. And watching it, I think it's a flawed experience. Because first of all, they're hyping up the IMAX experience. And when I watched it, I didn't really feel any major moments where the IMAX was really enhancing it so much. There's a couple old recordings that they use that are really cleaned up and look really great on the IMAX screen, but for the most part I didn't feel like this was, oh my god, I gotta must see this in IMAX. It was still pretty cool though, overall. The other thing with this documentary is the parts where the actual band is talking about their story and where they came from, all that stuff, great. But at a certain point, there's a couple long gaps of them not doing that, and it just playing live recordings for a long ass time. There was one point I think it was just showing newspaper headlines for almost 10 minutes or whatever, and you're like, fuck, no, let the band talk some more, say some stuff, and then it just kind of ends abruptly. So it just kind of, it's a 2-hour documentary that felt like not all of its 2 hours was used usefully telling the story of the band for me. It's still worth watching if you're a Led Zeppelin fan. I'm sure there's lots of tidbits and cool stuff in here. And you could tell they really digged into the archives, cleaned up this footage, and really tried to make it all work. This one's a minor criticism, but it is a criticism nonetheless. There are parts where they play footage of Led Zeppelin where they have to put the text on the screen, original recording damaged, and so it just looks bad. First of all, if the original recording is damaged and it doesn't matter to they're not talking about that recording or that sequence or that performance, whatever it is, there's no reason that you have to play that exact piece of footage. If the original recording's damaged, don't play that piece of footage, because then you're paying money to see it, go to an IMAX screen and look at footage that looks bad. I paid $20 almost to go see this in IMAX, and you're playing footage that doesn't look good for no genuine reason. I would understand if that piece of footage was related to something they were talking about in the documentary at that moment, but they weren't. So it was very oh, you play this footage, but why? It looks bad. And you pay for IMAX to see something that looks good. So, not a bad documentary. It's actually pretty good if you're a Led Zeppelin fan. I just felt number one, the IMAX screen kind of puts a different hype or perspective to this. And then the those kind of minor flaws hurt it just a little bit, but overall I don't think it's a bad documentary. Any documentary where you're going to get the band of the group talking about their story, and as long as it's edited and well directed enough, it's bound to be interesting if you like that kind of music. And as someone who does, I got into this. I liked it. I just wish it had been better constructed in a couple areas to make it fully worth the experience.